Welcome in to the Main Event Sports Show. Main Event Sports TV Live is going down on the Plug Network. Rashawn Myers here, joined as always by my esteemed colleagues. We got the architect himself.
The engineer. The engineer.
Haven is architect.
His own location.
I was going to say the architect of all the sounds.
Oh, okay.
But, we're not on the radio. We're not on the radio anymore.
Yeah. I just don't want
to. This man used to always do all the mixes for everything that we did on the radio. But Mr. William Wright in the building.
Thank you very much.
And then, of course, the bearded one himself, Mr. Joe Kelly, at That Boy's Good, for those who don't know.
At the sports domain, for those who don't know, which is plenty in most of you that don't know. I have still 28 followers, so let's work on that. Haven't logged in a year and a half, but I still have the dopest Twitter handle in the sports world.
I don't even know how he has 28. Like, you should end up accidentally. Like, you have to try to only have 28 followers. And that's like literally a thing. Like,
I absolutely love when people come up with great handles and then they don't tweet for like ever. And there are people like tweeting at them, let me buy that ad.
Wait, hey, come at me. I got you. You want to buy it at the sports domain.
Hey man, you can just have my ad, change it over. I'll sell you all my followers. $50 straight cash, you can have them all.
We'll figure. I might do it for one of your sandwiches. Hell with that.
That's real. But man, we have a great show tonight. Absolutely loaded, fellas. Have so many things going on. College football, of course, being at the top of the list, but we got a huge showdown in the NFL. We have several big college football matchups. So many things to get into. Of course, we're going to have a great friend of the Main Event Sports Show, Mrs. Leanne Herring. Going to be coming in to talk some NFL and college football as well. Got a very spicy matchup. Ole Miss Rebels, Alabama Crimson Tide. Of course, Leanne follows and writes for, the Ole Miss. She follows them very closely, the Ole Miss Rebels. So we can't wait to hear from her a little bit later on. But first and foremost, fellas, we are now 4 weeks into the college football season. University of Louisville sits at 3-1.
3-1.
3-1.
A bit of a surprise to a lot.
And it's very interesting to see how these things have transpired. I always said that I had never seen, after pretty much basically a half of football, people calling for a head coach's job the first week of the season.
Oh, I've seen it before.
And it was one of those things where I think that a lot of the angst around UofL football had less to do with the football team and just more to do with the program overall and everything that had been happening off the field. There's a lot going on. So I think those frustrations kind of poured out on Scott Satterfield.
And let's keep it 100% here. Has there ever been a point in any of our lifetimes when the whole collective world is just stressed out anyway?
True.
Everybody's angry. Everybody's looking for something to point at and blame. Nobody. Right. We can't go do anything.
That's fair.
Our pets' heads are falling off.
Yeah.
It's like the Dumb and Dumber scene. It just feels like everything's coming down when you spend your entire holiday weekend. And that's another reason why I give our fans all the leeway on that knee-jerk reaction. They spent their entire 3-day weekend hanging out, waiting to watch their team get taken to the woodshed. And it's only natural to get angry.
And I'll say something that has not really been said in so many words. Wins, losses, regardless, all of that aside, Scott Satterfield is not a very likable person in terms of his personality. He's
prickly.
He's not charismatic.
A coat of white paint.
Yeah, he's not charismatic. So it was easy for people to turn on him. But basically, people liked him when he came here because he was new. He was the change that everybody was wanting. Not necessarily, the person, but the change that everybody was wanting and looking for, and looking forward to. Getting us away from the, Petrino era. Mm-hmm. But he's not a very hard person to dislike because he's not very, he's not, as the death of the salesman, for those of you who are familiar with that piece of literature, he's not very well liked. You know,
and he has let you know on several occasions that he really doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
No, I mean, that's why I say he's prickly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he took that shot at the fans after the UCF game. He took a shot at Chubba Purdy before the game last week. I mean, I kind of like it. And to your point about everybody liked him when he was new, I think some of it was he got the fortune of being the guy after the jerk.
Yeah.
Being after the absolute jerk who also lost.
Keep that in mind.
You know what, though? The man came out. He's gone on this 3-game winning streak. One of the things that, like I said, even after, the first week of the regular season, even the second week, after a not so great showing against East Kentucky, the thing about college football is we really don't know what a team is. And even to a lesser extent in the NFL, you don't really know what a team is until the 4th, 5th game of the season. But at that point, guys will start to kind of fit into their roles. If you have young guys that are getting used to the speed of the game or new players in new positions, they really start to get a handle on what they're doing. The coaches know who fits best where. And at that point, you can start to kind of get an idea of who they are. And I think that this Louisville team's identity over these last couple of weeks is closer to what the coaching staff said they saw in the over the spring and the summer, and I think it started to develop a little bit.
Or, listen, again, fan goggles, dude. Their opponents have been pretty terrible thus far.
I disagree. They've done Central Florida's a good team.
They've done what they have to do. They've done, I think, what reasonable fans expected them to do. Nothing more, nothing less.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Maybe a little bit less because the play calling has been, it's. The other thing I wanted to say to Rashawn's point about it taking, till really October. Yeah. October is around the time that I say we start to have an idea of our team because you've had a little attrition. In U of L's case, they lost their best linebacker already. He's down. And also you figure out who the guys that looked great and this is so frustrating, I'm sure, if you're a coach. Because it's frustrating if you go to practice and you attend them in the summer and the spring. Yeah. You find out what the definition of a Friday night player is. Yeah. And for whatever reason, there are some guys who just don't give you anything at practice. They don't show anything, but you put them in a game, especially a nationally televised one, and they flip that switch. And you start to identify who your gamers are.
Fair enough. And, hey, they could have lost those games too, but they didn't. So, yeah, listen, props where props are due.
Yeah, bottom line. And it's one of those things
bottom line, finding a way to win is a true testament of a team.
It's interesting because the first 2 years of Scott Satterfield, if you look at the numbers, if you look at the offensive production, look at the defensive production, the first 2 seasons here, his 8-5 season and his 4-7 season were almost identical in terms of production. The difference was they won the turnover battle the first season, and they were able to get 8 wins out of it. They lost the turnover battle big time. Second year, they go 4-7. But the team's production numbers were pretty much the same both the years. And some people say that, turnovers, there's a certain amount of luck that goes into that. And people could say that last year.
Luck wins games.
Absolutely. I mean, you can say that it was a lot of bad luck last year. But this year, we see the turnover margin is back in Louisville's favor. And now they're winning those close games. And I think that Scott Satterfield is now starting to find those guys. People ask, we asked, once you lose Des Fitzpatrick, once you lose Tutu Atwell, who are going to be the next guys up? Well, I think that Louisville started to see that. We even had a Tyler Harrell showing on last Saturday. He gets the bomb, the 65-yard touchdown.
We finally got to see that 4.19 speed.
Absolutely.
Or whatever it was they said.
They heard about all spring and summer.
But we were rough on him after after that first game. I'm not going to sit here and not give them their credit. Like you said, they found a way to win. Sometimes it comes down to luck. Was I happy and pleased? Well, I'm happy we won, but nobody watching that second half could say, as a Louisville football fan, this is good. This is promising.
But the thing is, as I've told a lot of students as they're heading off to college, a nugget to take with them, it is much easier to land on a cushion than it is to dig yourself out of a hole, which means you create that lead. You create that cushion, meaning go to school, do well first. This way, if you mess up down the line, you're falling down on a cushion. You can recover from that much easier than going and just doing terrible out of the gate and then trying to make up for that down the line digging yourself out of a hole. That matters so much. So Louisville had 31 points in the first half.
I mean,
cool.
and think about that.
And we needed them.
That's all they needed to win.
Going into that game Saturday, Louisville was 3-13 at Florida State, at FSU all time. So there's two ways you can look at it. Yeah, you don't like the fact that they really came out and just basically went into a shell in the second half and just tried to hold the lead. They did not try to do anything. They did not try to overextend themselves. And we know that Scott Satterfield is a dude that likes to be conservative anyway. That's his personality. But the fact that you're able to go on the road to Florida State and get 31 points in the first half, that's crazy.
Right.
Again, and that's like, that's a testament of the team too. Hey, if you're able to coast your way to a victory in the second half, coast it. Why would you risk overplaying your players, injury and so on and so forth, if it's not necessary? And everybody, people get upset about it. The fans don't like it. I didn't get to watch much of it when I got to my destination, which was Bowling Green, Kentucky.
I only saw the second half.
Yeah, I only saw part of the second half. So I didn't get the chance to watch much of the U of L game because I was headed to the Western Kentucky University game, which they lost like some scrubs, but they played a hell of a game against IU. It was tough to watch in person.
It was.
I watched the whole game. So did you go back and rewatch?
I went and rewatched it afterwards.
It was the second half.
It was 2 quarters that were as much fun as I can recall having as a U of L football fan since Lamar Jackson was here.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun, and it seriously it really got my juices pumping about this is why I love football, and this is why this is the greatest.
And that's why I went to the fan goggles, because everybody, and I hate that. I'm not going to do fan goggles this time. I don't want to do it. Because I don't want to do it. Nobody wants to hear that right now. We won the game.
Hey, and I think
but that second half was rough.
It was cheap. The second half,
I'm gonna tell you what.
I went from happiest I've been in years to, man, this is how I felt all last year immediately.
The reason at the time that I was watching
fan goggles.
it
Great
was
win.
definitely
Great win.
Uninspiring offense, but I know how conservative Scott likes to be, so I can understand why he did that. If you feel like you can coast, his defense held Florida State to 10 points in that second half. That defensive line looked much closer to what, everybody said that they wanted to see with Ashton Gillotte.
Which half was this?
Both halves, truthfully. The defense gave up 13 points in the first half, 10 points in the second half, but that pressure that they continued to put on Mackenzie Milton all night was palpable. Yaya Diaby showed up.
And that was
Gillotte showed up.
That was the big thing that I took away from the first half, and I think that's what was so exciting about it, is that it was like, all right, we come out the gate, we get a deep bomb to the wide receiver we heard about all summer, but we haven't seen do anything.
Right.
Then the defense comes out, we get a big sack by Yaya.
Right.
We heard he had a lot of hype coming in.
Right. And we got a lot more of this that we're going to discuss in the second half, folks. That first the second segment, rather. That first segment went by very fast. A lot of good stuff to talk about. We'll see you back on the other side of this break. Stay plugged in.
Welcome back into the Main Event Sports Show, and we want to make sure that everybody knows, if you love what Main Event Sports does, all the great things that we do, both active on the sports scene and in the community, you can be a patron of Main Event Sports. You know how you do that? Go to maineventsports101.com and then go to our Patreon app.
Wait. What is it I hear? Is that the money train?
That is the money train.
Is that the money
You
train?
hear that?
That's a new feature we got on the show, y'all. The money train. Y'all know about that? Look, this is when we start talking about how we need money and how we need financial assistance from our fans. Absolutely. And from the people that support us, and how much we appreciate you all. We thank you all so much for your donations. We are continuing to have people who are becoming patrons through the Patreon app.
That's right.
MainEventSports101.com.
Hey, and that's just go to www.patreon.com/MainEventSportsShow. Is another way that you can get on there. For only $3 a month, you can help support Main Event, keep us up, rolling, and going even higher. So, and we appreciate all of the Main Event Nation.
There it is.
You guys do.
There it is.
But fellas, I know there's so many things going on. First and foremost, we talked about, looking back at what Louisville did last week at FSU. But I'm more interested in what's coming up this weekend, going on the road against a ranked Wake Forest Demon Deacons team.
Dumbest mascot on earth.
The Demon Deacons. I've never understood it. You know, those people down in Winston-Salem.
Yeah, what kind of mascot is that?
Yeah. It's
When you really think about it, it's
a little odd.
Yeah.
But they're going on the road.
Demon Deacon.
Dave Clausen, a coach that Scott Satterfield knows very well. These guys have gone up against each other at several stops during their coaching careers. Louisville has seemed to have Wake's number and Clausen's number a little bit over the last couple of seasons. They went down there 2 years ago and beat number 19 ranked Wake Forest in Scott Satterfield's first year. Let me just ask, Joe, in regards to this matchup, like, we know that they have that funky, the claw fence is what he likes to call it.
I can't even hate on it.
Like, what do you think? You know, what is your first takeaways of this matchup? You know, how are you feeling about it?
Their offense is a very, very lightweight because not too many offenses, thank the good Lord, are this good. They're a diet version of Ole Miss. They love to hurry up the ball, up tempo. So that's, you know, obviously the concern then becomes depth rotation. I mentioned earlier, arguably our best linebacker being out for the season.
Right.
These are the games where that stuff's going to come into play. So, as you pointed out, the front seven looked great last week. They looked completely different from anything we'd seen. We're going to have big play in the trenches this week because otherwise Wake Forest will come out there and they will pound the daylight out of them like they did a couple years ago to Bobby, where it was just run left, run left, run left. Hey, let's run right once too. Why not? They don't tackle anybody. They're a physical team and they run up tempo. That's scary.
And Will, let me ask you. You know, Louisville goes out there, beats the brakes off Wake Forest last year. They beat up Wake Forest 2 years ago. Like, if you're Louisville, do you think these guys could come in maybe overconfident? Do you think that because they've had success, that should make them play better? Like, is that a concern?
I think that Louisville has they have some momentum going right now that will definitely support them going forward in this game. The second half of the Florida State game aside, and even regardless of that, it was a win. And as we all know, nothing builds momentum like winning.
Yeah.
So I think that this will definitely be, for Louisville, a big chance to, do what they have to do. So going in there, this will be up to the coach. This is where coaching comes in terms of taming that confidence.
Yes.
Confidence can lead to lack of preparedness, overconfidence, lack of preparedness, and it can be perceived as conceit, which, a lot of that pisses some people off.
Yeah.
When you go against an opponent that you coming in like you just know you're going to win, that can serve as motivation for them to wake up that, that spirit inside of them. So you got to manage that very well as a coach, in my opinion. Also, you can, have your players, being overconfident. They stop being coachable.
Right.
They're not listening anymore.
Right.
They get cocky. This is going to be a fine line for them.
It's very interesting because this, really and truthfully, when you break it down, it's the first team that I've ever seen that plays this, but it's an actual option offense. Now, most people, when you think of option, you think of either quarterback keep, quarterback pitch, or dive. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Wake Forest has an option, but their option is a run-pass option, where literally they hold the ball for as long as they can to decide if they want to hand it off or throw a quick slant to a wide receiver or a running back. And they literally do that the whole game, where literally every play they're trying to decide, are we going to hold it and run it or pass it? I've never seen an offense like that. It's very weird.
I would just like to have an offensive line that's that disciplined enough to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is you're putting such a demand on your O-line.
It's weird. It's odd. It's even odd to see because you'll have the quarterback back there, and he'll be back there 6-7 seconds, like waiting. It's something I've never gotten used to. It's kind of like watching UVA in basketball, where they have kind of that slow, we're going to run 25 to 30 seconds off the clock every time. But then they hurry up. Like they have tempo between plays. Like they hurry up, run up. They want to snap the ball quickly. But then once they snap it, they wait.
They want to limit your substitutions and then physically manhandle you.
Yeah.
And that's where I was saying we've got to be physical. I know I say that. You got to be physical every game, but you got to put an emphasis on it with this team.
But that also wears down the defensive line.
Yes.
Mentally and physically. A mental. That's why I was going to say mental more than anything because, it keeps you on your toes nonstop. You know, as soon as you think you got a play picked out, you know, that's when you get burned. You know, that's the power of the option. It's you know, I think Louisville's gonna have their hands full this weekend, but they've shown that they can figure out ways to win games, and that is gonna be what bodes the most for them this coming weekend.
Well, I think the word that you said right there, discipline, is going to be the biggest thing. And Wake Forest makes you play disciplined, but they also make you play a hat on a hat. So it's more about you need to have your assignment and you need to be better than the guy across from the other end of it.
Very much so.
You know, you can't really cheat one way or the other because they can take advantage of it through their scheme. But if you're just better, I think that's been probably the biggest takeaways from me the first couple times that Satterfield has gone out there against Clawson, is that his teams have done an excellent job getting off the field on third downs against them. And believe it or not, Louisville this year, even with all the offense that they gave up in the first week versus Ole Miss, Louisville's one of the top 15 teams in terms of third down defense.
In fairness, did Ole Miss have a third down?
True. They didn't really have any. They were scoring so quickly.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, and a cloud of dust.
But, I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, Louisville's third down conversion percentage is like, 10, 12%. They're only giving up third downs like once every 5 or 6 possessions.
Let me ask you guys, what is this game going to do to your expectations for the season? Because I'm worried that if we come out and we beat them by 10-plus points, no matter how the game looked, that I'm going to get right. I'm going to put on my fan goggles, as Will said, and I'm going to start talking about.
I'm biting my lip right now to stop talking. I don't want to.
We're 2-0 in
it's
conference.
Crazy. If Louisville wins this game, the winner of this game is in first place in the Atlantic.
Right.
They're first place in the ahead of Clemson.
This could be. I'm telling you, I've had this feeling since week 1 when I watched Clemson and Georgia play.
Yeah.
This has all the makings to be a repeat of that weird, goofy, clunky 2007 season.
Dude, okay, let me say this. I'm not going to say fan goggles, but y'all are starting to sound like UK fans.
It's great. Well, I mean, it's crazy. The schedule has played out that way. I mean, UK is an undefeated team.
And I ain't talking about UK like y'all support UK right now, but y'all starting to sound like UK fans talking about UK.
But when was the last time the SEC? When was any time the SEC as a conference looked as garbage as the ACC does?
And that's why.
This is kind of like the Kentucky lottery, baby. Somebody got to win it.
Somebody's got to win. But here's the thing: let's not get too far ahead of ourselves and act like they haven't been playing. Okay. Every team they play hasn't been trash, but we can't do much with this Florida State win, dude. You cannot take the fact that you went and beat up a homeless person and put that on your belt. You know what I'm saying? Like you wearing around a championship belt because you beat up a...
The Brooklyn Brawler was legit.
Hey, anytime Louisville beats Florida State, I sat in the stadium and watched Florida State drag Louisville through the mud for years. So
no, I'll take it, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, y'all. Come on, man. Y'all making me break out the fan goggles argument, man. Let's.
All I'm saying,
it's a great win, dude.
All I'm saying is if we get another ugly win against Wake, it's going to be hard for people to convince me that we can't just ugly win our way through the schedule.
You can.
Well, I mean, your next 2 games, if you knock off a ranked Wake Forest team, your next couple games is Virginia, Boston College. Like, I don't think either one of those two teams strike fear. So you're talking about
winnable game.
At that point, Louisville would be 6-1.
Possibly
6-1 heading into
possibly
Clemson. At 6-1.
Well, what's the old saying?
At that point,
everybody's got a plan, so they get punched in the mouth.
I mean, but who's going to do the punching?
Exactly.
That's the problem. Right now, everybody in the ACC looks like dudes out there fighting with no fists.
Right.
They just throwing shoulders at people.
But here's the reality of it is fans stay fans even if Louisville loses this game against Wake Forest.
Yeah, please.
Because you know how it goes, man. Like I said, I used to have to listen to these UK fans at work for years. UK would win the first game against the YMCA of Greater Louisville, and they come out talking about, man, this is our season. Like, dude, already? We got to hear this already? This is it, dude. I could see it last night when he dunked on that 5-year-old man. I'm telling you, this kid's going to be great.
Hey, and you know what? If I'm Kentucky, kind of looking at them in our last minute, they're heading into, they're undefeated. They 2-0 to start the SEC conference. That's not happened very many times for UK. But now they face Florida. That they faced Dan Mullen, they faced Todd Grantham,
and
a guy who's not
neither
well
one of them wanted any parts of Western Kentucky this year. Western's got Michigan State this weekend.
UK's been iffy. So let me ask you: they're undefeated. Do they get exposed this weekend?
I hope so. Let's just leave it there. I certainly hope so.
It'll be interesting. Like, I think that a lot of the bloom is off the rose because they've just continued. Like, I think Missouri and South Carolina may be two of the worst Power 5 teams out there. But UK won the games. And all you can do is win the games in front of you.
That's all you can do.
They're 4-0. They're still not ranked. Nobody really believes in them. But this is their opportunity. Dan Mullen and the Gators are going to provide that opportunity.
They're like the Tyson Fury of the SEC. Hey, wow. He won. Oh. He's the champ.
Hey, no respect. But you know what? We're going to pay respect to pay these bills here on the Plug Network. You are listening to the Main Event Sports Show and watching the Main Event Sports Show. Hey, stay plugged in, y'all.
Comment.
And welcome back into the Main Event Sports Show. And the Main Event Sports crew would like to remind you that you need to go to our YouTube channel. That's Main Event Sports. And click subscribe. The reason why is because 2 lucky fans are going to have the opportunity to get a hat and a t-shirt once we hit 1,500 subscribers. So
yes, indeed.
Those spots are running out quickly. And that Main Event swag, this man is the architect behind not only the sounds, but the gear as well. So if you want the genius, as you can see what the shirt says, the genius.
And by the way, this is not Anderson .Paak, Andre 3000, or Stevie Wonder on my shirt this week. But if you can guess who it is, we got something for you. We'll name you on the air. How about that?
That's my Uncle Franklin.
If you can guess who this is.
But you know what? We're going to go ahead and go to our resident football genius, who we have on the line right now, Leanne Herring. Leanne, how are you doing?
Doing good. Gearing up for a big week, obviously, in the SEC West. Ole Miss is traveling to Tuscaloosa. Big matchup, lots of, big games in the NFL and in college football. It's definitely going to be a big separation Saturday for a lot of these teams.
Absolutely. And let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Of course, you cover and are extremely close to the Ole Miss football program. And to say that I'm sure this has been a very much anticipated showdown, especially with the way that the Rebels have started the season. Just kind of talk about the feeling around the Rebels program, the fans, and what they think about this showdown with Alabama this weekend.
I mean, I think for the Rebels, as far as the team and Coach Kiffin, they've been really trying to keep them, trying to limit the hype and really get them to focus. I think the feeling in the air with the fan base is just, we're ready to go to Tuscaloosa. We're ready to have history repeat itself like it did, in 2015 when Chad Kelly went over there and beat the brakes off Alabama. But like I said, of course, this is everyone is talking about the huge matchup when it comes to the Heisman race. You have two of probably your top 2 front runners in Ole Miss's Matt Corral, obviously, and Bryce Young. So it's going to be a very interesting storyline for the SEC and for Ole Miss and Alabama. And I really think here, that what we're talking about is this game could potentially be the SEC West Division Championship right here. I think everyone's talking about the hype in the SEC West about how well Arkansas has done again, just like Louisville's done, and in the ACC and some other teams you don't expect. They've won some big games, but when you see Arkansas coming down the stretch, are they going to be able to take down Bama and Ole Miss? And that's another question. So, as far as the SEC is going right now, LSU is kind of a mess. A&M is a disaster. So I really think that Alabama right here, Ole Miss is going to really set the stage, and whoever wins this game is probably going to be in your SEC West championship game.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. It's a very odd year in the SEC, as you think that Florida may be actually getting it together. Georgia, of course, has been, that they've looked pretty good. But then you have LSU kind of falling off the map. Is it as wide open as it seems? Because I have a feeling that, especially with the way Florida, gave Alabama everything they wanted, is it a little wide open like Ole Miss? Could they be the best team in the SEC?
All biases aside and everything, just like the ACC, I think what we're seeing in the SEC is definitely a shift in shift of your power teams. Alabama's always going to be Alabama, but Alabama is elite, but they aren't the Alabama that we've used to seeing, especially on the offensive side. Bryce Young is a heck of a quarterback, but, offensively, he still hasn't found his rhythm. Just like what we see is going on in the ACC with Clemson, there's definitely a shift of power that you guys have seen. I think right now, this weekend, like I said, is going to be a huge separation Saturday to really change a lot of shifts because there's a lot of potentials for a lot of underdogs in these Power 5 conferences. And I speak of the ACC and the SEC especially. Teams like Louisville, teams like Ole Miss, even teams like Kentucky, these teams that really have had a issue trying to find their identity really could come to heads this weekend when they face. So, yeah, just like the ACC is doing a shift of power right now, and Clemson's kind of, mentally and physically worn out. So they kind of seem like they've checked out. Same thing with LSU and A&M going on here. Injury has plagued these two teams already early on, and that's really affected, these teams in the same, like I said. So the SEC is wide open. I'm not just saying Ole Miss. I mean, Kentucky.
You can say, Leanne, just go ahead and say Ole Miss is going to go out there and put a whooping on Saban on Saturday.
I mean, they have a really good. They have a real. If any coach has the ability to get into Saban and to be able to wear down Alabama and keep it close, I say it's Kiffin and Ole Miss just because it's a mentor going against the mentee. You can say what you want about Lane Kiffin and all the stops that he's made, but what he's done for Ole Miss and what he's learned under Saban, he's really translated that in over a year. And if you really think about it, Kiffin's really took in this Ole Miss program and really shifted it under a year of COVID. So, this is the first time we're really going to see Corral have an consistent OC. And like I said, but it's not going to be an easy path for Alabama or for Ole Miss because, like I said, both these teams are hell of an offensive thing to watch. They're going to go. But it's going to come down to those little things. For the Ole Miss Rebels, is Lane going to go for those 3rd and 4th downs? Is he going to take the points? Is the Alabama defense going to be able to slow down Corral? There's a lot of those little questions. Like I said, it's going to come down to a lot of details. But I think for Ole Miss especially that Alabama hasn't seen in the past, obviously on the offense, this comeback of the running backs, and I talked about it because we're seeing the emergence of these duos and these triple threat running backs, not just in places like Ole Miss but Georgia. Todd Monken over there at Georgia has always been somewhat of a play it safe kind of guy, do what he knows on offense. But we've really seen him, go to his running backs. And I think that has made all the difference with Georgia. And we'll see it a lot this weekend against Arkansas. But, going back to Ole Miss, having, Ely, Snoop Connor and Henry Parrish, they're really a triple-headed monster in that backfield. It's really changed the run game. I know we talk a lot about Ole Miss being a passing team and a strong passing team, but I think Lane Kiffin really switching up, using the that triple threat in the running back position, and then having two elite wide receivers like Drummond and Mingo in that backfield for Corral has really opened up a lot. And like I said, the Ole Miss Rebels are really gelling. But like I said, it's going to be tough to go against the Alabama defense, even though that Alabama defense hasn't been elite. It hasn't been the Alabama defense making big stops and everything. They still are going to give Ole Miss a run for their money.
Yeah, I like Mingo. That's my dude right there. I think that he's going to be playing on Sundays. He's like a little baby DK Metcalf. I really do like him. But swinging to the other side of the SEC, you kind of brought them up. Is UK, are they're undefeated, but even their fans don't even seem to be happy, even though they're undefeated because of some inauspicious showings, some, hanging around with teams that, the fans thought that they were better than. The offensive line hasn't been great.
Sound familiar?
They get an opportunity against Florida. Is this going to be more the same of UK just still continuing to lose to Florida? Or do you think they're not getting enough respect?
I think when it comes to fan, and you guys use the term about fan goggles, I know especially in the SEC, and you kind of mentioned it with at Louisville how it is. I know in the SEC fans are happy, but the minute there's the slightest red flag or hint, it's just chaos. And I think that's kind of how UK fans feel towards the fan base. They're happy that they're 4-0, but at the same time, there's always complaints because even though UK's 4-0, we still see a lot of consistency. They found ways to win. It hasn't been pretty, it hasn't been ugly, but they found ways to win. And I think that's the situation that Kentucky is in at the moment. I think that they definitely under Stoops. They finally have bought into that program, and I think what Stoops has been saying, stick by me, stick with me. His players have finally bought in, and I think after these past couple seasons, we're kind of finally seeing UK go into its own. And I think the key in that has been changing, adding a lot of size to that offensive line on the Kentucky end, because I think a lot of these games, just similar to to Louisville, is those games are being won in the trenches. So it's a lot of the key stops and everything hasn't been because of spectacular play, from the offense on the quarterbacks and that kind of thing, or the defense. It's been those defensive and offensive fronts. And I think Kentucky's kind of in the same way. But again, this is going to be a real test for Kentucky because, when you look at their numbers, the only two SEC games they played against Mizzou and South Carolina, they like to run the ball a lot, at least like a 2-to-1 ratio. And I think in those two SEC games combined, they only had 570 yards on the ground and 281 in the air, even though their QB, Will Levis, has been doing really consistent. He's at about 62% completion rate and everything. But like I said, he's going to have to face a tough defense. Like I said, the Florida defense hasn't been solid, but they're not spectacular, but they've been solid, like I said, especially against Alabama. And I think we really saw it against Tennessee as far as the defensive measure of how Florida defenses, how they holding up. Like I said, the Vols didn't really have much to answer when the Florida D came, but they still managed to get 275 yards in passing, and they gave up 140 yards on the ground to Tennessee, like I said. So it's going to be really interesting. Like I said, this is going to be an interesting match for UK. Again, like I said, I think that this game is going to be the SEC East elimination game. I think that whoever loses this game, even if UK were to win out, magically, and they were a 1 or 2 loss team, I really think that Florida, even if Florida wins here and they continue on a hot streak, and even down the road and everything, I think that this is for the SEC East is going to play out. So I think whoever wins this game is going to definitely be the front runner in the SEC East. But like I said, it's going to really come down to the run game, because when you look at both of these teams, believe it or not, they really are mirror images of each other on both sides of the ball. And it's going to come down, like I said, they both run really heavy on the run. And it's going to come down to see if Kentucky is going to turn the ball over, because that's really where Kentucky has lost it, lost a lot of those key games. And yes, it was a one-loss team to, and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, you can't make those small mistakes. You especially can't make turnovers even against Florida. And Florida, if you really look at them, they don't give a lot of turnovers. As a matter of fact, they've only had 2 in the conference games, one total turnover, and that was because of, an overthrown pass by the opposing QB. So like I said, this is going to be physical for both ball clubs, but I think whichever team comes out the jump and they make 2 to 3 consistent explosive plays with long drives and they kill time off the clock early, I think this is who's going to come out on top in this game.
There we go. And I tell you what, Leanne, that was a perfect segue. We're going to go ahead and take our last break of the evening. When we get back, we're going to go ahead and switch over to the pro side of it. We saw an amazing game up there in Detroit. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a big-time Cardinal matchup in the NFL, as well as our pick segment. You are listening and watching the Main Event Sports Show. Rashawn, Will, and our man Joe Kelly will be back. Stay plugged in.
Changing Image Barbershop is your best choice for your family haircuts. Just off of Hikes Lane in the Bardstown Square Shopping Center. Changing Image Barbershop has lots of parking and plenty of seats inside with a great family environment where every customer is treated professionally and like family. They specialized in the newest styles and cuts. Changing Image is the best barbershop in the Ville. They now have a braider and over 15 barbers available to you. Call them at 502-907-0010 or visit them at 2251 Hikes Lane in the Bardstown Square Shopping Center.
And welcome back into the Main Event Sports Show. You know what, fellas? Time always flies on it. That's where it seems like we've only been on for about 10, 12 minutes. But here for this last segment, and we definitely have to get in. First of all, let me just give a big shout out to Louisville Male High School's own Caleb Glenn. humongous commitment to Cardinal basketball. Coach Mack gets it done. The
No doubt,
2023 wing player. Grown man, fellas, 6'7", probably 210 bills, and he still got 2 years of high school basketball.
Oh, yeah.
He plays. He's going to be a good one, a good start to the 2023 class. So Coach Mack doing big things there. But, you know, we did want to kind of switch over and start talking about the NFL, the National Football League.
You make the call. Remember that? Remember that in the games?
Hey,
you make the call.
You know what?
Hey, listen.
Don't get me hyped, man. Don't get me hyped.
That Baltimore and Detroit game.
Baltimore-Detroit, fellas.
Listen, I have conceded that Tom Brady is the GOAT, but Lamar Jackson was very GOAT-esque in that game. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and if not Lamar Jackson, then that right leg of Justin.
Oh my
Tucker,
gosh!
That right leg of Justin. Tucker
that field goal is the GOAT. I mean, it's the longest field goal in NFL history.
Unbelievable, 66 yards
off of a 4th and 19 convert. Look, listen, this whole entire
unbelievable.
The way the whole thing played
Only
out.
in Detroit.
The way the whole thing played out.
I felt bad for the Detroit Lions fans,
I didn't.
Man.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
I was like, oh, that
I
was
felt good for Lamar Jackson.
Hey, it was unbelievable.
It was beautiful.
Play. Just that whole play, it was awesome. You know,
Lamar is currently leading the NFL in completion percentage and yards per attempt. First player in NFL history.
That's crazy.
Boom, there's
Listen.
your fun fact for the day.
And that's pretty good for a running back.
Pretty good for a running back.
It's all right for a receiver.
No, wide receiver. I'm sorry, wide receiver.
They came out and said that, you know, they had finally figured him out this year. That, you know, that Lamar Jackson stuff isn't going to work.
I figured him out too. He's good.
Yeah, damn good.
Yeah, I figured that out.
Damn good.
I got my finger on it.
I can Google open heart surgery.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you want me operating on you.
No, sorry.
But I got to figure it out, guys. I know how the heart works.
Yeah, no
Yes,
thank you.
indeed. Hey, that boy is bad.
Unbelievable.
My mama liked Lamar Jackson. How about
Everybody
that?
loves Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson.
right.
And if they don't love Lamar Jackson, the other dude that everybody loves is Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy B.
You know, Louisville's 2 favorite sons
Facing off.
facing off Mile High.
I've said this before, and I don't think people really understand what I mean. Because it's like, no. There's a lot of other quarterbacks smarter behind it. I think Teddy Bridgewater is the most intelligent. I'm talking about book smart quarterback to ever take a snap in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
I swear I do. That dude is. I think he is super duper smart. Like
Absolutely.
off the field. Like I'm telling you.
Now, you know, Teddy and company, they are undefeated out the box, 3-0 to get started this year. Have come against, albeit the worst teams. You got the Jets, the Giants, and the Jaguars.
Hey.
So literally
getting
teams
them
that have
done.
not won a game yet this year.
Getting them done.
But you know what?
We took the Florida State win, didn't we?
Absolutely. But hey, Teddy's undefeated. Teddy's, I believe, he's over at 72% completion percentage, leading the NFL in completion percentage.
Listen.
He's balling.
That's his MO, his completion percentage. I remember when he said he wanted to get up over 70%. I remember a few seasons back when he said that.
I mean, he's doing it right now. It's absolutely unbelievable what Teddy's doing.
I said when he signed with Denver, the low-key thing that people are not picking up on why this is such a good fit for Teddy, the only knock you can really make on him is he doesn't have the strongest arm, and he's not going to push it downfield. So let him go play in that thin air. Ball sails a little easier.
I promise.
Yeah,
and you know
cool.
what? And he's doing this without his Pro Bowl level wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy, the Alabama standout, got hurt the first half of the first game. And Teddy's doing all this. And Judy's coming back in 2 weeks.
I remember watching some U of L games where Teddy Bridgewater, especially when he throws that corner pitch.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Tiger Jones, that catching against Miami.
The receiver would turn around. The ball literally turn around almost in shock. The ball is like Teddy, his delivery.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it.
Pretty. I mean, just unbelievable. So I
His
say
timing.
all this. As all avid Louisville supporters, Who you got? Who are you going to be rooting for in this game? Who do you think is going to go get this win? We're going to start our picks right now as we kind of discuss.
I can't do
through.
it. I just can't do it.
Who you going to get? Who's your favorite child?
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
This is the only time in my life I ever considered ordering what I think are lame as hell, but those half and half jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just gonna be Teddy Bridgman.
I saw one Jackson Water.
Jackson
the one
Water.
I saw.
That's what
Somebody had one. It was fake. They had like stuff like with what do you call it? The
Tape.
No, not tape. What do you call it? The pins.
Velcro? Oh no.
Never mind.
Just I don't know. Bobby pins?
Not bobby pins. Man, what do you call it? The pins that you press in to open up and close them?
Oh, like a diaper pen?
Yeah, but
I don't know
what
what
they
to call it. I don't know.
Nobody knows
Safety
right now.
pins.
A
Safety
safety
pins.
pin. There you go. It was safety pins holding the pictures on the jersey. It was funny. It was pretty funny.
It's tough, man. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. I feel like to me
This
the
is
Broncos
hard, man.
the Broncos need the win more, even though the Ravens are 2-1. I think that
The loss would hurt the Broncos
because
more.
the NFC West.
Yeah.
AFC West is off
Yeah.
the chain.
That's a good point to make. The loss would hurt the Broncos more than the win would help Baltimore.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a way to put it. But at the same time, damn it, can they just have a tie? Like, oh my gosh, can this go down to a tie, please?
In the NFL, it can.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, yeah, we can hold out
We
for
can
it.
hope for that.
Leanne, I know you're still on with us. What are your thoughts? Who's going to win the game? Is there one guy you're pulling for? Is it Teddy or Lamar? What you got?
Like I said, I think for the Broncos, it's going to be a real big challenge. I think they've been feasting on a lot of lower tier teams in their division. I think Baltimore's going to be their real test, but I'm going to have to go with I'm going to have to go with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I just think that the run game for the Ravens is just super dangerous, and how they grip their personnel. I think that's going to be something the Broncos haven't seen. On the defensive side of the ball, Wink Martindale, he's probably one of the most aggressive DCs in the league, and I think the Broncos aren't going to be ready for all the blitzes, overloads, all that kind of pressure that's going to come from the defensive side of the Ravens. And I've been really looking at one player in particular, Marlon Humphrey. I think he's going to be a real standout player for that defense too. So I'm going to have to go with the Ravens on this one.
I like it, and I agree with you. I think that the Broncos are definitely on the way up, but I don't think they can get it done this week. Adafe Owe, the rookie, has been absolutely a pass rush monster for the Ravens to start this year out. So
Fair enough. If I had to pick a team,
28-14. I think 28-14.
28-14. I wrote it down.
28-14.
He's El Mama. Y'all don't know what that means. He's the GOAT. Man.
He's silly.
Yeah, Rocky's the GOAT with these picks. So no, I will never underestimate Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
And so many people are expecting that. Baltimore is a tougher team, and that they are a grittier team, and that they're going to be the ones to come out and kind of use that against Denver. Teddy Bridgewater is the more finesse play. I will never. I think that Denver's going to pull this one out. I really do.
Nice. And Mile High, hey, you know what? That's a heck of a home field advantage.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Because in addition to the ball selling better in that thin air, it's also harder to breathe for players who are not used to that. So the away teams have a great disadvantage.
Lamar's going to be on that oxygen.
Man.
And that brings up a really good point as well. Okay, so you look at both teams. Both of our guys are down wide receivers. So then we look at the running game. Obviously, you're gonna lean towards Baltimore against anybody in the league when we're talking that. But then that thin air comes into play,
Man,
and they're low at the running back position. So I think Denver can pull this game out. Absolutely. I think Baltimore gets it though.
Got you.
I like it. The other kind of marquee game, even though I don't know how great the game is going to be, but very interesting nonetheless. Tom Brady returns to New England. The Buccaneers go on the road to take on the Patriots. Mac Jones, the next coming of the greatest of all time, to listen to some prognosticators. What do you all think about that game? Joe, I'll let you start on this one.
Like I said, man, I'm still, even though I know what happened last week, LA's a tough place to play, but I'm not betting against Tom Brady. However,
don't do that.
The chaos in me does want to be like, how funny would it be if he went up there, got waxed, and that's the only team, that's the only city, the only franchise he never beats in his career.
I want to see if Gronkowski's going to play, because that brother took a heck of a shot last week in the ribs. And he does not wear rib protectors, and that man, he's an absolute Viking. coming out there. What do you think, Will? You think?
I think Tom Brady gets it done. When I say that, because even if he decides to change teams during the game, whichever team he's on is going to get it done. No, seriously, man. As you all know, I had a recent revelation in reference to Tom Brady and his greatness. Never really questioned it, but dude, he's the greatest, and I'm never going to bet against somebody that great.
I like it. Leanne, what you got? With the Bucks at Patriots.
Well, like I said, everyone's going to make it about Brady versus Belichick, and you can't, a quarterback who was the face of the program, you can't help but think, upset alert for lots of reasons outside of football, those intangibles. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to go against. I can't go against Brady and Tampa Bay, even though they're coming off a thrashing last weekend, courtesy of the LA Rams. And I think it's going to come down to, like I said, there's two weak links of both these teams. Is the New England Patriots offense, or is it going to be the Bucs defense? Whichever one of these units, I say, gets it together and can gel well, is going to have the early advantage in this game, and it's going to win. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Nice.
There we go. And we're going to go through our lightning round picks for college as we're going in on our last minute. What we got? Louisville?
I'll say Louisville over Wake Forest.
Yes.
No, actually, I'm going to take Wake Forest over Louisville. I'll take that back. I'm sorry. I'm going to take Florida over UK, and I'm going to take Western Kentucky over Michigan State.
Okay. What about
Alabama?
Alabama over Ole Miss. Okay.
Alabama over Ole Miss.
Joe, what you got?
I got Alabama over Ole Miss in a shootout game. I like Louisville over Wake. Grass is green, water is wet. Florida beats Kentucky. It's just what we do. And what was the other game we had?
Oh,
Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky over Michigan State.
Oh, man, come on. You know what? I'm going to ride with Western again.
There we go. Leanne, thoughts on those games?
All right, I guess I'll go Western Kentucky versus Michigan. As much as I like Western Kentucky, Michigan State's been really hot, so I'm going to go with Michigan State on that one. Okay. I just think that they cover. As far as Ole Miss and Alabama, I'm going to have to go with Ole Miss. I like how they're going to perform, and it's going to be a close one. For those who like a betting angle, I would say give the points to Ole Miss with that 14.5 if you're interested in betting. I'm definitely going to take Louisville in that Wake Forest game. I think that even though Wake's going to put a heck of a defense up, I think Malik Cunningham gels with Marshawn Ford and his other tight end position. Mm-hmm. I think that they're able to, if they can cover the points across the board and not just go full out on the first or the second half. I think they have a real chance against Wake. And then what was that? Did I cover all the games? Did I cover them all?
Kentucky, Florida.
Oh, Kentucky, Florida. Okay, so I'm going to take Florida on this one, but I think, like I said, on the betting angle, I know a lot of people like to hear that. I think Kentucky still covers on that one. I think the line is those betting angles, people always want to hear about that.
I appreciate it as always. And for me, before we get out of here, Louisville, Florida, Michigan State. Give me Ole Miss, man. You know what? I appreciate it. Time flies when we're having fun, like we always like to say. Without any struggle, there is no progress.
Peace.
Peace, y'all.